Jake with Simply Solar, and I'm here with Ben, and today we're going to be talking about how you size a solar system and the minimum system sizes that make financial sense for people to buy. So Ben, can you tell us a little bit about the minimum system size that makes financial sense, and how do we normally size a solar system for a property?
It's a great question, Jake. So typically it comes down to that dollar amount kilowatt hour usage. So if you're just looking at your dollar amount electrical, you want to be using at least about $60, $70 a month. Now that doesn't mean that it doesn't work, but you're more doing it for that green aspect, for the environment. But because of PG&E's rate increases, when you and I started in the industry, it was 11 cents a kilowatt hour, right? 11 cents. It is over 24 cents a kilowatt hour in tier one. That's our little people. So somebody that literally 8 years ago when we started that had a $30 bill has a $60, $70 bill today.
Yeah.
So that's why we kind of use that buffer of 60, 70, 80. That's really the sweet spot of knowing that you're going to be able to pencil. You've got a great ROI, probably 7.5 years or less. The larger the system, the better the ROI. So that's why I kind of always mention that. But on the installation side, from your perspective, what is kind of that proper minimum size system to get your home going?
Yeah, so I mean, minimum system sizes a lot of times can be based off of how much space you have on your roof. The reality is we've had to size solar systems that are only covering 50% of the usage, but they're covering 50% of your most expensive usage.
Right.
So it ends up actually covering like 70% of your bill in some of those,
Gotcha.
in some of those cases, which is really advantageous. But there is limitations on what we can do. Solar takes up space. So if you don't have the space for it, you can only size what you can. But we try not to size systems really much under 8 panels if we can. That's kind of that threshold where it starts to pay itself back in a reasonable time frame. But the reality is the cost of solar has come down, over the last few years quite a bit. It has made smaller systems make more financial sense. I remember when we first started,
20,000 plus starter system.
If you sold an 8-panel system, it's going to take us 15, 18 years to pay itself back. And it was hard, to sell that sort of timeline back then. And now with people moving out of their houses every 5 to 7 years, you need a payback that's 5 to 7 years. Otherwise,
right.
People aren't going to go for it. And that's really where these paybacks are these days. Sometimes less. I've sized commercial systems that pay themselves back in 3.
Yeah.
So there's solar is a really good investment these days, much better than it ever has been. And I think we've kind of reached that trough of where solar prices are going to go. I don't think we're going to see a huge decline in solar prices like we have seen over the last few years.
Yeah.
Just because at a certain point there's just cost, that it costs to get a solar system installed. I think that ultimately we want to size a solar system that's best for an individual application, and some systems are going to take a few more years to pay back. Especially the smaller systems will take a little longer to pay back, but the big systems can take a lot less time to pay back. And either way, it's a really good financial move.
Absolutely.